Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video I would like to read an article entitled Why a Maritime Focus is Essential to Vietnam Security. Accommodating Beijing's maritime expansionism would undermine Vietnam's long-term security and that of the surrounding region. Lead Reef military installation belonging to Vietnam structure on Vietnamese held Lead Reef in the South China Sea. Geography influenced the strategic choices of all countries, but Vietnam is an interesting case of a swing state in comparative grand strategy terms. The country occupies the eastern part of the Indo-Chinese Peninsula with an allocated coastline of 3,260 kilometers facing the South China Sea. Vietnam also sits unambiguously in continental Asia, sharing a 1,300 kilometer border with China, as well as abutting Cambodia and Laos. This duality in Vietnam's situation straddling Southeast Asia geostrategic fault line gives it unusual flexibility to develop a continental or maritime orientation. Despite a strong landward pull in Vietnam history, Hanoi has latterly and perhaps decisively adopted a maritime courses. Through the country's grand strategy remains dynamic and is actively debated among observers. In the second half of the 20th century, Vietnam's communist leadership was absorbed by the anti-colonial struggle and national unification, the long wars against France and then the United States, when Hanoi's ideological and material allies with the Soviet Union and China to a lesser extent encouraged a continental disposition. Postal supply routes were important to sustaining Hanoi's revolutionary war effort in South Vietnam, but the main axis of supply ran overland through Laos and Cambodia along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Laos and Cambodia along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, North Vietnam's armed forces lacked the means to contest U.S. sea control in the South China Sea. China forcibly expelled South Vietnamese forces from the Paracel Island in 1974 through Hanoi maintained Saigon's claim. After reunification in 1975, Vietnam's border conflict with China in 1979 and prolonged military interventions in Cambodia throughout the 1980s ensured that Hanoi was preoccupied by land-based threats for the remedies of the Cold War, with the exceptions of a brief clash of China in the Spratleys Island in 1988. In the 21st century, however, Vietnam has transformed into an export-oriented economy that depends upon freedom of navigation in the South China Sea and beyond to deliver its prosperity. This has influenced its threat perceptions. The majority of Vietnam's population and infrastructure is concentrated on the coast, making it vulnerable to attack from the sea. Vietnam has to defend and police the oil, gas, and fish within its exclusive economic zone, as well as its territorial claims in the Spratly Islands. If in future China is able to exert an uncontested control within this so-called Nine Dash Line and acquire access to a naval base in Cambodia, Vietnam could find itself encircled and vulnerable to blockade. Once access to seaborne trade is denied, Vietnam would suffer immediately and grievously. The move towards a maritime strategy is evidenced by change to Vietnam's defense capability. Despite the effect of the 2008 global financial crisis, Vietnam doubled its defense expenditure between 2006 and 2010. From 2009, it began acquiring 6 Russian Kilo-class submarines armed with anti-ship and land attack club supersonic cruise missile capable of hitting China. The modernization of the Vietnam People's Navy was officially declared a priority at the 11th National Party Congress in 2011. The 2019 Defense White Paper put a seal of Vietnam's strategic reorientation by officially identifying it as a maritime nation. Vietnam is unlikely to prevail in a serious maritime conflict with China, but it has made significant investment to raise the cost of aggression. Despite this trend, it has been argued recently that Vietnam should look west for its survival and refocus its strategic attentions from the maritime domain to its land borders, because the balance of power on land works more in the balance of power in Vietnam's favor. According to this line of argument, Hanoi has a little long-term hope of defending its maritime claims in the South China Sea due to the growing power disparity between China and Vietnam. But the strategic situation on land is less severe than it may first appear. In reality, a binary continental versus maritime dilemma is somewhat artificial. Vietnam will continue to look landward for its security and to some extent for its prosperity too. Hanoi can overlook the possibility of invasion or incursion across its land borders. It is also the case that Vietnam's armed forces remains army-dominated for historical reasons. However, China and Vietnam signed a border treaty in December 1999, which was ratified in 2000. The two sides completed border demarcation in 2009. Although China has a dominant economic profile and significant political influence in both Cambodia and Laos, Vietnam's Southeast Asian neighbors remain sovereign states and are unlikely to allow the People's Liberation Army to launch attack on Vietnam from their territory. Even if Phnom Penh and Vientiane agree to host PLA ground and air forces, invading Vietnam would be prohibitively expensive, as demonstrated by Russia's war in Ukraine and indeed China's costly invasions of northern Vietnam 43 years ago. By contrast, China's unilateral and expansionist actions in the South China Sea haven't faced serious consequences. Since 2009, Beijing has incrementally ramped up its claims across the South China Sea, consolidated its control in contested areas, interfered with the sovereign economic activities of other claimants within their exclusive economic zones, and militarized those features it has converted from rocks and reefs into artificial islands. China can exert pressure on Vietnam from the sea at much less risk to itself than over land, including but not limited to the use of gray zone tactics. If Vietnam were to vacate the features that it occupies in the Spratly Island, China would be certain to fill the resulting vacuum, further strengthening its control. Giving up the South China Sea would be widely unpopular with the Vietnam's public, potentially threatening the legitimacy of the Vietnamese Communist Party. So, that's all the article. Bye bye, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.